You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Road, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Vices? We don't need no vices. I don't have to show you any stinking vices.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
Not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows like MF Uncensored and the Multiverse Fancast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Sean. Sean, how are you today?
I am wonderful, Paul. Thank you for asking.
Are you wonderful?
I am always wonderful.
How wonderful are you?
On a scale of 1 to 5?
That's a weird scale, but I'll allow it.
We do 1 to 5 on Star City rating.
I know, but that's a movie thing. You're way more than a 5, Sean.
I really hate you.
Okay, so scale of 1 to 5?
Well, no, it went down, so...
-2. But anyways, I'm glad to have you here. I know it's been a while. Unfortunately, work schedules got in the way, and last week I was away for a work conference.
Yeah,
so
you sucked last week.
Yes, I did suck last week. And now this week I'm currently not sucking, as far as I know.
No.
All right.
As of right now.
But let's talk about a franchise that didn't suck and then started to suck and then really sucked. And that's going to be, we're going to be talking about the Terminator franchise today.
What?
So we were thinking about it, and, obviously there's a lot of movies coming out right now. Our goal is to see, I know Sean saw Barbie.
I did see Barbie.
Just initial non-spoiler thoughts?
A lot of fun. Not a kid's movie.
Not a kid's movie.
Not a kid's movie. Kids can go see it, but it is not. It is definitely a lot of jokes over the heads of children.
Once I saw the clip a few weeks ago about the beach off, and I can beat you off with both hands, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but it was very well done. Beautifully shot. All practical. I don't think there was really any CGI in the movie. Very, very minimal, if any. The actors were excellent. Yeah, I fully recommend it.
Okay.
And I hope you go see it soon so we can do an episode on it.
I would like that. We also need to see Oppenheimer. That came out this past weekend.
We were going to go see it the day after. We weren't going to do what everybody's doing, the Barbie thing. Barbenheimer. Being in a movie theater for almost 6 hours was a little too much.
We've done it.
We've done it, but that's... multiple movies, and they're like older movies that we've seen before and we really like. We know we can sit through them. But to go from the high of Barbie to the low of Oppenheimer, we weren't ready to do that, but we were going to go see it the next day, but we ended up not going.
Yeah, well, apparently both movies are doing exceptionally well. Some of the biggest openings since Avengers Endgame, apparently, like the biggest movie weekend.
That's we really, honestly, since Endgame, we've really had a lot of letdown movies in terms of the big budget.
Yeah. I was really worried that Oppenheimer was going to be a bomb. Got him. Comedy coming at you. But we also had Mission Impossible came out last week, so
we haven't seen that either.
It has been a good time for movies.
How's
this last week?
It's a good time for the fans, but...
The Flash came out to digital like a month later.
God, that movie. The more I think about that movie, sucked.
I like that movie.
That's fair.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
We agree that we have different tastes in certain things.
Especially when we talk about Terminator, I feel like. I don't know. We'll see.
Depends.
This could be an interesting one. We're going to try and keep it relatively brief. We're going to focus mostly on the first two movies. But before we jump into our topic, Sean... What's going on in the world of Hollywood?
Geez. I mean, since the last time we spoke, we obviously have spoken about the Writers Guild strike, which has been now going on for, I want to say almost 2 months since they first went on strike. But 2 weeks ago, pretty much right after our last episode, SAG-AFTRA decided to go on strike. And this is now the first time since 1960 that both the writers and the actors are both on strike. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't really delved into exactly what the... back and forth is. All I can tell you is the primary thing is the AI.
Okay. AI for the writers.
AI for the
both?
actors.
Oh, okay.
For the actors. This is a huge thing. Like the whole issue about background actors and all that stuff. I mean,
it's taken a lot of jobs. Yeah.
This and I didn't know this until just now. Fran Drescher is the president of the Screen Actors Guild. So hearing her. And I've listened to her, on a bunch of talk shows and her initial press conference when they first went on strike. Man, she commands a room. She is good.
I can see that.
She is good.
I know a lot of the other things that they're talking about in the strike is health benefits.
Yeah.
And residuals is the big thing, especially
streaming.
Yeah, from streaming.
See, I did not know that they got very minimal streaming.
Like cents on the dollar or
cents
something
on the dollar.
crazy.
Sean Gunn's been very vocal, especially being that he was on Gilmore Girls, and Gilmore Girls is like Netflix, like one of Netflix's most popular viewing shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's... I don't know how you can't be on the side of the actors with something like that, with residuals.
Yeah.
And then the AI thing.
I get the AI thing. And that's why it kind of inspired us to do this episode.
Yeah.
But because AI is now a very big thing. I don't get me wrong, I have used it in some content creation, like thinking of podcast topics. Ronnie and I did that for our last episode of MF Uncensored, where we literally just had the AI pick a topic for us. So, I get it. I really do. But it's a weird time we're living in. And I hope that it gets resolved amicably.
It's not looking good, man. It's gonna go through the year. I would be shocked if this is resolved before the end of the year.
Well, the problem is you got these big Disney CEOs or big CEOs of all these
Bob
companies.
Iger did not do himself any favors.
Especially when he went, to cash his $45 million check for the
that's
week.
that one thing, but he's not.
He doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it, and which is a shame because I really do like Bob Iger, and he really had to pick Disney up out of the crap it was in with the previous CEO, the one that took over after Bob Iger initially retired. And I was like, okay, Disney's going to go back and they're going to be good. And then he comes out with this. I'm just like, Bob, no, come on, man.
Yeah.
Just stay out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody
don't
wants to
say anything.
Nobody wants to hear from the It's kind of like the Wall Street stuff a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like when everybody was after the Wall Street bankers and all that. And then like they stayed very quiet.
Well, they had, it's
Yeah.
like.
But now you got this where like you say one thing, it's only a tweet to trillions of people.
That's why it's like I was like, don't say anything, guys. If you don't want none of this stuff shoved back down your throat, don't say a word. I mean, there's like I think I heard Warner Brothers was going to cut down the trees outside the studio to make it more hot for the actors on strike because they're blocked by the shaded by the trees. So I mean, that seems like okay, that seems in jest kind of funny, but in essence, it's like, wow, like really, guys, like
stupid is a stupid house.
It's just come on, Again, it's the same thing when sports goes on strike. Anything, whenever people are making millions of dollars, the people like us, the Joe Schmoes, who just look at this going like, yo, we can't understand what this is like. We don't make millions of dollars, but you have to also look at it their point. They're trying to protect the small time actors, the actors who don't make Tom Cruise money.
Look at Ke Huy
Kwan.
Like he even said it in his his Academy Award speech. Like he
was bankrupt before.
I was about to lose my health insurance. Like I lost my health insurance.
Yeah.
Because that's the way that that it works in Hollywood, where you don't. So the big name actors, they go probably through their talent agencies or however they do that to get their insurance. But these small independent film actors, they have to make X amount of money in order to qualify for the health insurance. I want to say it's like $26,000 a year or something like that. Which you like a normal person, you're like, that's not that bad. But if you work on one movie,
and you don't have any other income, then you're gonna have a problem. So I get it if you want to say, well, I don't care. These are actors; they make so much money. I said, okay, yeah, the Tom Cruises, the all the big name actors.
You don't see those actors out there.
You see some of them. They're out there striking for their fellow actor.
Yeah. But like my Instagram feed is a lot of like the CW actors that I follow, the boys and stuff like that.
Bryan Cranston is out there. I've seen him. Yeah. There's a bunch of actors who are
apparently Dwayne Johnson today did some sort of either today or yesterday did some huge donation to SAG, like to help offset and help out these. Like apparently it's like the biggest donation that they've ever gotten. And see, I like stuff like that because I don't know. Obviously, it's good publicity for Dwayne Johnson, and he's a hero for that. But he just seems like such a good guy with stuff like that.
I agree. I mean, and again, as you said before, hopefully somehow this gets resolved. I don't know. Right now, it's very acrimonious, and I don't foresee it getting fixed anytime soon.
Acrimonious. Well done.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Thank you.
SAT words, sir. But let's jump into the topic that we're here to talk about, and that is the Terminator franchise. Now,
cool party.
No, that.
I'm sorry.
I hate you. I honestly hate you. Why would you do that to me?
Because it's Arnold.
It is Arnold, but if we could probably do a whole episode just on Arnold quotes.
Probably.
Oh yeah.
Get to the chopper.
Who is your father and what does he do?
It's not a tumor.
We'll do the Kindergarten Cop series at some point.
Series?
They made a sequel, I think.
Yeah, wasn't it like Larry the Cable Guy?
Something stupid, like so stupid.
No, it was Dolph Lundgren.
Yes, that was it. Still stupid. Still stupid. We got to talk about Expendables at one point.
We do, because they're coming out with a new one.
They're coming out
I
with a
haven't
new
seen
one.
the trailer for it yet, though.
Yeah, Megan Fox is in it.
Okay.
I love her. Sorry. But anyway, so let's time travel back to 1984.
We weren't born yet.
We were not born when this movie came out. Yes, let's not discuss that. So the basic premise of the Terminator franchise is very simple. There's a man named John Connor, and John Connor has to die. Because in the future, what is it, the year
2029, we're almost there.
We're almost there. That's so terrifying. It was just as bad when we passed the Back to the Future date.
Oh, that's so right.
Oh,
was
my
it 2015? We're just like, where are the flying cars?
Yeah.
Now we're just looking forward to the dystopian future. It's just...
We're making AI. James Cameron literally did an interview recently, and he was like, I warned you guys about this. So the basic idea is that in 2029, right?
2029.
There's been a war between humans and machines. Mm-hmm. Machines are an organization called Skynet, created by humans as a defense system, and then it gained sentience and turned on humanity and blew up the whole planet. And they sent a Terminator, a machine that is a cybernetic organism covered in human skin, back in time to kill the resistance leader, John Connor. And that is the franchise, mostly. For 3 movies and a TV show, that is the franchise.
Yes.
So,
because they're sending him back to kill John Connor while he is still technically in the womb of his mother.
Before he's
Sarah
even conceived. So people tend to forget that in the first movie, he's going to kill Sarah Connor.
Yes.
Not John Connor. This is one of those weird franchises. When you think Terminator, what do you think? Which movie? I think Terminator 2.
I probably could go either way, 50-50 on each, but I mean, I would like to think if you tell me Terminator, I would still think of the first one because it's the first one. But, I would have no issue if you'd be like Terminator 2.
I'm pretty sure I saw Terminator 2 before I saw Terminator 1.
I think I actually saw T1 before I saw T2.
I saw TT. Oh, wait, what?
What?
Never mind. But anyway.
How old were you?
Don't worry about it. So, the first movie came out in 1984. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, the titular character. Mm-hmm. Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn. Those are the main actors. There are a couple of others and some that make cameos in some of the other movies. Who's the therapist? What's his name?
Oh, Dr. Silberman. The actor's name is Earl Bowen. He is in the second one. You'd have to tell me if he's in the third one. I don't know if he's in Rise of the...
I'm looking. I can't... He's not on the cast list. What's his name?
Earl Bowen.
Earl Bowen.
Yes, he is. He is in T3.
He's in T3. That I knew. And he was in this. Oh yeah, and he was in the second one. Yeah.
And he actually just passed away earlier this year.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame because apparently the character was in the television series. Oh yeah, that's right.
You were a big fan of that
I was
TV
a big fan.
show.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it definitely. Don't worry. But so, what do you think about for the first movie? So what are some things that jump out at you?
Well, I mean, there's the iconic, obviously, the line that I think will forever be attached to the Terminator, and that's "I'll be back." Mm-hmm. That is to me, I think when you think Terminator, that's what you think.
That's the line, yeah.
And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because it made his career. Technically, Conan was first, but I think this
is what set him into the stratosphere.
And just the low budget way they shot the movie, because when you think of just the two movies put side by side, I mean, what Cameron was able to pull off in the first one with no effects, basically, like real old-timey effects, stop motion, miniatures, and then what he did 8 years later, 7 years later, 91.
Wild. Still holds up.
Still holds up. I mean, that T2 is now, 32 years ago? And their effects in that are better than some of the movies that are coming out today.
So let's talk about that really quick. So in the first one, there's only 1 or 2 scenes that take me out of it. When I was a kid seeing this, it didn't take me out of it as much as one scene. It's a scene where he has to remove his eye. And it shifts from an actual Arnold to an animatronic. Which, as a kid, I didn't realize, but as like an adult, I'm like, it's a jarring transition. Mm-hmm. Just because of the way the thing moves, and then when he puts on the sunglasses and it transitions.
And it's clearly a human being now.
Jump cuts to Arnold. And of course, obviously, when she's running away from the stop motion one.
Before he gets crushed, it's very
very old timey.
Yeah.
But so this movie, the first movie though, it's a very simple plot, and it's basically Arnold coming back in time and just killing as many Sarah Connors as he can until he finds the right one. And she's protected by Kyle Reese.
And that's another another line. Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, I still say that. I still drop that line every once in a while. I'm not doing anything important.
What's funny is because this is just a weird transition, but I remember Casper, the movie Casper.
Yeah.
And when he does the Arnold impersonation.
Come with me if you want to live.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And
I
then,
get
of
it.
course, I saw this one, and I'm like, Arnold doesn't say that line. And then I watched T2, and I'm like, okay, he does say that line. Damn it.
So we get introduced to these main characters, and a lot of them are going to be the recurring characters throughout this franchise. Even though Arnold plays like several different models of that Terminator, Sarah Connor's consistently played by Linda Hamilton.
Except for in the TV show.
Except for in the TV show, which again we'll talk about. Don't worry.
I
don't know why you're so worried, but anyway.
I'm not worried.
And Michael Biehn, there's a deleted scene of him in the second one where he talks to Sarah.
Really?
Yeah, like she's like, I don't know if she's having a dream or something like that, but he does he'd get up soldier line, you know.
Get up soldier.
But yeah, so he's more of a recurring theme almost. But yeah, he is in some of the other films. The character Kyle Reese, played by Anton Yelchin, Jai Courtney.
I forgot Anton Yelchin played him. That's in the
Salvation.
Christian Bale one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But so he's more of a recurring type of theme character, I guess, is the best way to describe it. But he does die at the end of the first movie. Sorry, spoilers. Sorry, everyone. He does die in the beginning, at the end of the first movie, not before impregnating Sarah.
So, what I love about this movie is so beautifully summed up by Craig Robinson in Hot Tub Time Machine, that they sent the Terminator back to kill Sarah Connor, but John Connor sends Kyle Reese back to protect his mother. If he doesn't do that, then,
I know you're trying to censor yourself. I appreciate it. It's cyclical.
It's cyclical.
So the thing about that is, the whole premise of these films are there is no fate but what you make. Like that is a recurring motif throughout these films, that you make your own destiny. Blah blah blah. Every one of these movies have proved otherwise in some capacity, right? So yes, I choose my own destiny, but what if I send Soldier John Smith instead of Kyle Reese? Whoops. Like that. It's cyclical. So in time travel, this is gonna hurt. There are a lot of different ways that time travel has been portrayed in movies and TV. The two most common are the cyclical, where he goes back in time because he had to go back in time to go back in time. Like where it just kind of goes, if he doesn't, like it's a loop, a time loop. And then there's the diverging timelines, as evidenced in Back to the Future, which is the best descriptor of it. So this film presents itself as a cyclical time line, but then in the later films, it really starts to branch out and change its mind.
Yeah.
So they don't really stick to their time travel rules per se.
Time machine.
But the first movie is a solid film, and I don't think they thought they were going to get a franchise, especially a $3 billion franchise out of it.
No, I don't think so either, because lo and behold, again, I don't know, I'm not in James Cameron's mind. He maybe in 1984 said, I can do more with this. I'm just got to wait for the visual effects to come of age. I mean, we saw him with Avatar. Avatar 1 came out and he was like, oh, you guys won't even, you won't even know what I can do more of until I'm able to. So I can't speak for that, but I agree. I mean, it took him 7 years to do T2, and as we'll talk about probably after the break, it is just an absolutely totally different film, a different feel, a different look, and obviously the visual effects are some of the greatest ever put in cinema.
Well, with that segue, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Come on.
Hey guys, it's Paul, and the Misfit Faction is looking for your help. We are trying to grow not only our network, but also grow our brands, and the best way to do that is if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast. Maybe you guys have been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's something you guys have always wanted to do, but you're not sure how to get started. If you go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys will get a month of free podcasting on us. That is a gift from us. So make sure if you guys are looking to start your own show, you reach out to us and go to podbean.com/misfitfaction. Also, maybe you guys have your own online business or service that you're always looking to grow, and advertising is a very big part of that. If you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys. That's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction.
All right, we are back, and now we're talking about Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Well, real quick, before we get on Terminator 2. So
Never mind then.
Sorry. Terminator grossed $38.3 million in the United States, and then another $40 million in other territories. So overall, it grossed $78 million. For 1984, that's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good.
And the studio had no faith this movie was going to do anything. So
Yeah, this was another Star Wars situation where the studio was like, try your best. We'll see what happens.
And
What was their budget? Do we know?
That's a very good question, Paul. And like most times, I don't have the answer.
I got it.
to
6.4 million
that.
is
All
the
right.
budget.
So basically,
It multiplied it by about 11 times. 11 times the budget, which is wild. But yeah, it did really well, and obviously it's still a cultural type thing. But now here we are. We're talking about Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Debatably the best of the franchise.
Yes.
Debatably, obviously it made a ton of money. Critical acclaim. I think it's the only one that got any sort of...
well, I think, visual effects
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I mean, this is on the short list of movies that are sequels that are not officially better, but are considered by many people to be better than the original movie.
This is a lot like your Star Wars situation, where do you like Godfather, Toy Story, which we
Toy
just
Story,
did.
yes,
It's
good one.
incredibly subjective, but there's merit to both sides. Like you can love the first Terminator movie just to be like, I like it for its quote unquote simplicity. Like it's a simpler plot. It's not bogged down by franchise building, because that's the big thing that this series starts to really suffer for. They try too hard to build franchise. It is a franchise. I don't know why you need to build more.
Well, I also don't think this movie is. I think once they did the third one,
Once they got to Salvation.
Well,
And Salvation didn't do well. They kind of
that's the
reevaluated.
problem. Salvation was intended to be a franchise, and it just bombed.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. But like, what a concept that we were so excited for, and it just fell flat. But anyway, so we have Terminator 2 comes out. It comes out in 1991, so about 7 years later. And this movie is probably the pinnacle of the technology that these movies did.
Oh yes, and this is the movie that gave Spielberg the feels to do Jurassic Park after seeing what ILM would do with this movie. ILM obviously went on to do the effects in Jurassic Park. But James Cameron's always been like that. He's always been on the cutting edge of visuals.
Which makes it even more ironic, considering like at the time people were not very optimistic about CGI and that it would create a realistic type look. That's why Jurassic Park is known for it did it. Like it popular. This movie started CGI for me. Jurassic Park popularized it.
Oh, I agree.
And now it's funny because now we're talking about all that AI stuff and actors being like, I'm going to be out of a job. CGI didn't put you out of a job either. So like that's just the caveat.
Well,
I get what they're saying and I get the merits, but like at the same time,
CGI is different. CGI is CGI Robert Patrick is still Robert Patrick.
Oh no, I
he was
got
on
you.
the set. What they're scared of is that they're just going to AI just random looking people and put them in a movie and not have to pay anybody.
Yeah, but then you get a character like Casper, who you just need a voice actor.
Well, yeah, that's different.
And a couple of tennis balls.
That's different.
We live in a wild time. But anyway, so this movie introduces a couple of new characters into it. Eddie Furlong now plays John Connor and his biggest claim to fame.
Yes.
And then he got on drugs.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Hey, what movie did he pop up in? We were super surprised. I think it was like The Green Hornet or something. Like he popped up in,
I don't remember that movie.
Yeah.
I blocked that movie out of my mind.
I know. Robert Patrick plays the T-1000.
He's... honestly, he might be number 2 in terms of when you think Terminator, you think Robert Patrick. Because he's just... There's something about him that...
Well, and it helps that he's also cameoed as the character in a bunch of other things.
But just when you look at him as a person, like...
That's what you think, yeah.
The actor in that movie, he's not big. He's not...
Very different than Arnold, yeah.
Yes, but he's just that face.
Oh, yeah. The liquid Terminator.
Just the look of just, you're dead. Like, I have no emotion. I'm just going to kill you where you stand. You know, he's not imposing like Arnold is, but...
But he's terrifying.
He's terrifying.
He's more the serial killer as opposed to the monster.
Yes.
Right? Like, you talk about horror movies, you got the monster, that big hulking, just unstoppable force.
Schwarzenegger is Michael Myers, and
Frankenstein,
Robert Patrick is
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, or he's Saw.
Ghostface.
Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Ghostface, yes.
So that's the best way you can probably equate the two. And he puts up a great fight. And it's always believable when the two of them come to blows. And even like... this movie did a great job at a really weird setup where it was like, oh man, John Connor's going to get killed by Arnold. That other guy's probably there to save him. Because I don't think you actually see him do any robotic stuff until he meets Arnold? I'm trying to remember.
That's a very good question.
Because when he kills the cop whose uniform he takes, I don't remember if you see him.
You don't see him like take the uniform. You just
or even like when he kills him, it's like a weird.
Yeah, it's a weird.
We'll have to double check that, so don't hold.
But
us to
obviously,
that one.
you get the opening to Arnold, and it's similar to the way he arrives in the first one.
That bar scene is wonderful.
The bar scene in 2 is wonderful. The open and we didn't talk about it, but as you recall, in the opening of the first movie, one of the 3 punks that he beats up is Bill Paxton.
Yes.
And I don't think Bill Paxton's in the second one. Usually Bill Paxton's like in every James Cameron movie. I think he's appeared in every James Cameron movie except for Avatar and possibly this one. I don't think he is in this one, but he was in True Lies in the first one. But yeah, it's a very similar intro to the Schwarzenegger character. So you're like, I don't know. Is he good? Is he bad? We were too young. We were 4 years old when this movie came out. I don't remember what the trailers were showing.
I think the trailers were showing him as the good guy.
Okay. Because that's something today they would do. Mm-hmm. Because there's just no...
They don't care about trailers.
There's no beauty to a trailer anymore. They don't give a shit what they give up in terms of stuff. They try, but they are just not as good as they used to be without giving away, spoilers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But...
Really strange. But
Bad to the Bone, when Bad to the Bone starts playing when he gets
so
into the leather, and he's on the bike. I mean, it is truly fantastic.
The only scene that ever takes me out of the movie is the really bad use of stunt doubles in the motorcycle chase, where literally the camera is actually focused on them, and you're like, that Eddie Furlong looks like he's 42 in that. And who's that guy riding the bike?
But
otherwise, this movie, in every capacity, holds up in every regard.
Yes.
Like, the CGI is still on point. 1 or 2 little wonky shots, but like that's just to today's standards.
To today's standards, you can't worry about. That's why, like, when you say about the scene in the first one where it's clearly
the animatronic,
it's like that to me is I got to give that to the times. That's,
it is pure. I think the only 2 shots that I think it's like the first one where the bullets heal on him, and then because it's weird, like. Does he actually take the uniform, or does he just create one? I think he just creates one.
Maybe. I think he might just create one, too.
And then, I think there's one other that off the top of my head, but I don't remember. But, like, this movie is still, like, it's still so good.
It's so good. And so, basically, the storyline here is, now it's been years, so she's obviously had the baby.
Mm-hmm. She's locked up.
She's locked up in a mental institution because
she's
basically...
Kyle Reese.
She's not gone crazy, but she has really taken this idea that... their Skynet is going to destroy the world, and so she's been institutionalized.
Well, because she has
times.
The date. Like Kyle Reese told her exactly when Judgment Day was going to happen. Yeah,
she has all the information.
And so she tries to blow up a robotics facility.
Yes, she's obviously she had John. John's now like 11, 12 years old,
something like that, and
he's now in the care of foster parents who are horrible people, and he's a troublemaker. He's a typical he's a typical teenager. Doesn't listen to his parents, and she's dealing with psychiatrists, and they don't believe what she's saying.
I mean, would you?
No, I'm just saying, but she's really gone
off the reservation.
But I also think she's putting on a show for them. Like, I think
she's better. Yeah.
Well, no. I think she's putting on a show that she's crazy. Like,
I don't. I think like literally those first outbursts that you watch the tapes of were her actually freaking out.
See, I thought she was just kind of.
No, I think it's the show when she's like, I've been a lot better, so maybe I can see my son, and then he, goes back on that and she breaks his arm. So that's always the way that I interpret it. It could be totally different, but basically the whole idea is they need to stop Judgment Day. Now, this is where the cyclical timeline comes into play the biggest. Apparently, Joe Morton plays Miles Dyson.
Yes.
Miles Dyson is part of a cybernetics company, and he has pieces of the original Terminator, the processing chip and the robotic arm. So it's because if they didn't send that Terminator back, they wouldn't have been created either, basically, if you really think about it. So they find out that, Cyberdyne?
Yes.
Cyberdyne Industries is creating all this stuff, so they go to stop him. And it's a great scene because Miles Dyson, she's going to blow him away. Some of the lines in it, like even like the Hasta La Vista. And
Hasta La Vista, that's another one. That's the iconic line. Hasta La Vista, baby.
So, some very quotable movie. But some of the other slang has not held up nearly as well. But anyway. So they end up, quote unquote, stopping Judgment Day. And the way that they do that is by destroying all remnants of the Terminator technology. So that way it doesn't ever come to fruition. And now this is where Terminator starts to dive into different timelines, because between this and the third movie is the Sarah Connor Chronicles. You didn't watch any of it.
No.
I loved it. I was a big fan. They only did 2 seasons.
Well, I thought that was more.
No, only 2 seasons. But it was...
That was Fox, right?
Yeah, Fox, because you know Fox.
No.
But also it was a very expensive show.
If it's not reality, it don't work on Fox.
But you had Lena Headey as Sarah Connor, which was inspired choice. I forget the kid's name who plays John Connor. That's going to drive me crazy. But he was on Heroes, and that's why I started watching it, because I was like, oh, I liked him from Heroes. Come on, I can do this before you do. Thomas Dekker, there we go. Thomas Dekker plays him, and then you have Kyle Reese's brother, played by Brian Austin Green.
Oh, okay.
And ironically, he got really involved with some of the other podcasts that I listened to at the time who were doing a show on it, and like became really good friends with them, and they had him on a bunch of things. And then you had Summer Glau, Summer Glau. So that was when like the height of Firefly after all that. And basically, Summer Glau's that Terminator that comes back, and she actually jumps them forward in time. And they're living in a completely different timeline. It ends on a cliffhanger ending, which sucked, but it was very good. But obviously, Sean hasn't seen it, so I digest.
You can talk more about it if you want.
It was very good. It was a shame that it got canceled, but again, it came down to budget, and I think they moved it to Fridays too soon. And you know what happens when a show goes to Fridays? There's not a good chance for it. It's different now because of DVRs and everything. Nobody watches live TV, but still. So let's talk about Terminator 3.
Wasn't Smallville on Friday nights?
At some point.
Yeah.
See, Smallville made it to every slot. It made it to every. I think it did
except Mondays. I don't think it was on Mondays.
No, I think it was.
It was.
It made it to in 10 years. It made it to every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Saturday, obviously. Though.
Well, the best was Supernatural would actually poke fun at that, where it'd be like, "Oh, it's Tuesday after all." Like when something's going on, like they would actually. Some of the shows would poke fun at like the days of the week that the show was on. But anyway, so Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. First thoughts, go.
Never saw it.
You never saw it? That's right. I thought you said no. Yeah. All right. So Terminator 3. Okay. Again, another thing that Sean has not seen. So basically, Terminator 3. It picks up years later, and it's got an adult John Connor played by Nick Stahl. We find out that Sarah Connor has passed away from cancer, but they gave her like 4 months, but she fought until Judgment Day was supposed to happen. And once it didn't happen, she resigns herself. Like she gives up and she passes away. And you have Arnold Schwarzenegger getting sent back, and you have a female Terminator called the TX, played by Kristana Loken. She's pretty good. Kind of like a T-1000, but she's able to create more, like using nanotechnology under her skin. She's able to create like guns and weapons and stuff like that. And Claire Danes as, what's her name? It's going to drive me crazy. Kate Brewster. And we find out that Kate Brewster is actually who he falls in love with and marries in the future. And she's the one that sent the Terminator back. So I believe John's dead at the time. So she sends this Terminator back to protect him. And we find out, now this movie ends on a dour note. Like it is, they end up, Skynet gets launched and it starts taking over, and Kate's dad is a general in the army who's overseeing it. And they think that's why, this is why we were supposed to, like, they have like a weird shared history, like they knew each other as kids. A lot of exposition in this one. And so they go to where Skynet's being launched, and then you find out that Skynet actually pretended to do an attack, or like faked an attack that caused them to activate it. Like they tricked the government into turning it on and uploading it to the internet. Stupid internet. And it's too late by the time they get there. So the general, who, and like in his dying breath, because all the machines start turning, tells them to go to this base, and that's where, and they're like, is that where the central core is? Like, and he's like, just go. So they get there. The Terminator sacrifices himself to kill the TX. They get in there, and apparently it's not the central core. It is a safe bunker for VIPs, like one of the most secure bunkers in the world, and he sent them there to keep them safe because all the nukes get launched. That's how that movie ends, with all these nukes getting launched and Judgment Day actually happening. And it's a great ending. And it makes you reevaluate the whole movie, because the Terminator tells John, because John's like, no, you shouldn't be here. We stopped this. Like, you shouldn't even exist. And he's like, Judgment Day is inevitable. You just postponed it. Like, it is just the natural progression of human ingenuity. Like, it's going to happen irregardless of what kind of technology, you know.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was definitely, like, the first 3 movies are solid. In my opinion, it always goes 2, 3 won in terms of watchability for me.
And don't forget about the old show at Universal.
Go ahead, talk about it, because I know you're dying.
Well, it's a 3 show based off of the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basically a retelling of Judgment Day, but it's a little different because it actually has John and his mother together. They're a little more cohesive in what they're doing.
They're like a
obviously
soldier unit.
Older. Edward Furlong looks like he's like 18 at the time when he's filming this, and obviously the Schwarzenegger's back. But it was a fun late 90s 3D effect
so
show
cheesy.
because
I loved it.
It was using live stunt actors as well. So like they would jump out of the screen and it would clearly not be Arnold.
Oh my god!
But it was fun. I mean, when we were down in Florida, we saw it, and it was probably one of the last times it was there because it's gone now.
It's a shame. Yeah, I remember seeing it.
They replaced it with a Jason Bourne like stunt show or something like that.
Who'd win in a fight? The Terminator ride, the show ride, or the Muppets 3D?
Oh, that's not fair.
That's a tough one.
I gotta go Muppets.
I'm gonna go Muppets 3D as well because
it's just so old and corny, but I love it.
I love it. Yeah, but the Terminator thing was really cool.
Oh, the Terminator was fun.
Like the T-1000 would like come out into the audience. And you're like, ah.
It was perfect for that technology. It was perfect for the 3D technology.
Oh yeah.
So James Cameron was not involved at all with T3, as I recall. I mean, he probably got like a producing credit or something like that, or obviously a story credit. But so that was 2003. So now we jump forward to 2008. And 2008 was a big year for, movies and stuff. And I remember 2009.
2009.
Oh, it was 2009? Okay. But I remember 2008.
But 2008 was great, guys.
Well, it was also when we saw the trailer. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh, with the way the whole world disappeared and that song. Oh my God, what a trailer!
So, I mean, when I say to you, Terminator, Christian Bale,
height of the Dark Knight,
MCG is the director. I mean, you're like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. I mean, this is going to be a whole new series. We're gonna,
So fans have always wanted to see a movie set during the John Connor age, right? Like during when the war is at its height, and they're like, here you go, it's gonna happen. We've got Anton Yelkin's gonna play a young Kyle Reese, and I think this was right after Star Trek.
Yeah, 2009. Star Trek was 2008.
Yeah, so like he was getting his due a little bit.
What was that other movie he was in?
Charlie Bartlett. We love that movie.
That was a good movie.
That movie has one of my favorite lines in all history, but I'm not going to say it because it involves self-harm. But anyway, so you got all these things that are coming around, and you have the guy from Avatar, Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington, that's right.
Now, here's where this movie started to fall apart before it even came out. They gave away the twist of Sam Worthington's character in the trailer. Mm-hmm. So basically, this movie is not per se a John Connor movie. Like, he's not the main focus. It's this new character, Marcus, played by Sam Worthington, which, okay, I can maybe get behind it. And you find out halfway through the movie, or 4 minutes into the trailer, that he's not human, even though he thinks he is. That was one of the first times that I vividly remember the trailer giving away one of the biggest plot points of a movie. And they will do this again in the following movie.
Oh, absolutely.
But Terminator Salvation just wasn't that good.
No, and I think it's most known for now, obviously, is
the rant.
The rant from
Christian Bale about the guy with the light.
So that's what people, when you say Terminator Salvation, I think most people will be like, oh, well, that's when Christian Bale flipped out on the guy.
Had they made this movie have you heard about the alternate endings?
No.
There was an alternate ending where instead of Marcus giving him his heart, they did a skin graft, and Marcus took over as John Connor. Yeah. So here's where this movie, the problem is, if they had just focused on John Connor, I would have had no problem. And as the leader of the human resistance, he's not even the leader of the human resistance. He's just another grunt. Like, he has his own unit that he runs, but he's like, they think he's crazy too, because he's like, no, I have to find this guy to send him back in time. Okay, all right, John. It wasn't the movie we were hoping for. It has some good moments, right? It's like when you see the fake Arnold come out, that was in the theater. We were like, oh.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
That was a cool moment because they do the music, and obviously he doesn't look like him. The Uncanny Valley's rough on that one. But it was like, oh, cool, like that's nice, but it made no sense whatsoever, and it just wasn't that good.
And again, it was supposed to be a franchise, and they were predicting like a trilogy for this.
And that was the problem. They started it too early in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Had they started a movie where it's just John Connor and he's the leader of the resistance, and they had just done something right before he sends Kyle Reese back in time, showed that part of the war, we don't need to see how it started.
Yeah, because we know how it started.
We know how it started, and we don't need to see, oh, how did John meet Kyle, his dad? I would have much rather seen the movie with them working together. And because Kyle didn't know. He had no idea that he was John Connor's father, which is weird. And even like the picture thing, because in the first movie, he gets a picture of Sarah Connor from John. And it's like, I knew from the moment I saw you that I was in love with you when I saw that picture. It's weird, but in his Salvation, he's just like, hey, that's my coat, put it on. Okay, puts on the resistance coat, and the picture's just in his pocket. Like, it took away from that moment. Because the picture was also shown at the end of the first movie, when she gets her picture taken. So, like, stupid things like that. It just wasn't that good. But anyway, let's talk about something that's really not that good. Terminator Genisys. Genisys. It's spelled weird. It's like
it is spelled weird, but it's
Genesis.
Genesis. Just say Genesis. You know what it says. Just say it.
All right, start talking about it. I don't want to.
All right, so this is 2015. So this is now what 6 years after the bombing of Salvation, and we're getting a new Terminator.
Weird.
And it's Arnold is starring in it. It's got Emilia Clarke, who is in the midst of stardom with Game of Thrones, and the trailer comes out. And we're watching this, and we're like, oh, okay, so he sends Kyle Reese back, and then all of a sudden it's like
an alternate timeline.
It's an alternate timeline where she already knows what's going on.
And there's a T-1000 waiting for him.
And so apparently it's, as I recall, because literally I have not seen this movie since we saw it in theaters, the Terminator goes back to kill her as a child. And something happens where, like...
We don't find out what happens, but we find out what happens.
She basically grows up with the Schwarzenegger Terminator.
Correct.
And he's like kind of like her guardian angel.
Pops.
That's what it's like.
Stupid.
And who's the guy who plays Kyle Reese that you hate so much
Jai Courtney. God, they tried so hard to make Jai Courtney a thing. He wasn't a thing for me until he did Suicide Squad, and they just let him be himself.
And then they killed him off 5 seconds into
that was rough. But the problem is he also can't do a convincing... Like, he's trying so hard to do his American accent that nothing else is happening with him. Like, his acting is purely on his speaking.
Well, this is also this is a couple years after Jack Reacher when he was in.
I forget he was in Jack Reacher.
Yeah, when he was the killer in Jack Reacher. But I like this movie just for what it was. It wasn't anything special, but here's where Paul lost it, and for good reason. The trailer gives away the spoiler of the movie where John Connor, played by what's his name? Don't tell me. Jason Clarke.
Thank you.
He comes back in the timeline that we are watching, and it is shown that he is now a Terminator.
It's like a hybrid type thing.
Hybrid Terminator.
So stupid.
And they give this up in the trailer.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
And we're sitting there going like, why? Mm-hmm. I mean, even if it wasn't in the trailer, would it have been a great storyline? Probably not, but it would have been more of a shocker. But that was one of the first times where a trailer truly ruined the movie.
Yeah, it was bad.
And the movie really didn't really do well at all.
Man, they were putting some money on it, though, to create a franchise.
Another one.
Yeah. Like,
it did gross over $440 million. I mean, just saying. It did do well.
It did well enough, but fans just didn't like it.
No, it didn't. Apparently, it was canceled. 2 planned sequels, and then another TV series was planned to go after this.
So the problem is, it was Star Trek that showed that this was totally possible to do this rebooted franchise and do it well. Yeah. Star Trek, and even Star Trek Into Darkness, which was on the other day. I actually do enjoy that movie. I
like all 3.
Yeah, I know that's not the general consensus, but that franchise showed, hey, we can do this reboot, have some of the old actors in it, and do an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Fans get it. Like, there was a weird notion that people who watch movies just won't get them like that. Nowadays, that's kind of out the window, but it's just like this movie starts off really good. And I remember the trailer starting off really good where it shows You know, come with me if you want to live. Like, and it's Sarah Connor saying it. And obviously, I like Emilia Clarke and, you know, Jai Courtney. I can take him or leave him at this point. But it's very, like, it starts off like, okay, I can get, like, they do a lot of homages to the first movie.
Was it Matt Smith was the
He was the bad guy.
The bad guy,
yeah.
Which you never really found out exactly what he was.
No, you don't find out what he was. You don't find out, I want to say, I don't think you find out who actually sent Pops back.
Yeah.
Like, they saved these mysteries because they wanted to do all these other things. But who plays, there's Byung Lee as the T-1000 from, he looked very much like Robert. Like, they did a good job with that casting. But for me, like, this movie just, oh God, it was so bad. It doesn't even end on a good note. Like, all right, now we're doing this alternate timeline. Nobody cares. And guess what? Nobody cared. Because now we have Terminator Dark Fate.
Only a small 4 years later.
I have not seen Terminator Dark Fate.
I saw it. So I had a fun experience with this movie. So me and our friend Matt, we went to Alamo Drafthouse. They were doing a special screening of Terminator 2. Great, awesome. We'll go see Terminator 2. We get in our seats. You know, we're eating. Movies, you know, coming down. The lights come down, and it's Pups, Schwarzenegger, and Linda Hamilton. They're kind of like, you know, hey, thank you for coming to the Alamo Drafthouse to see, you know, pretty much. And then he just starts going like, wouldn't you just rather watch the new movie? Kind of what Leonard Nimoy did back with Star Trek. He did that to a group of people who went to go see Wrath of Khan, and it turned out they were going to go see the new movie.
Into Darkness.
So we got to see Dark Fate, you know, pretty much early on before it was technically released to theaters. And so here we go again. Basically another rebooted storyline where in this one, John Connor is killed, and they CGI Edward Furlong. You know, in the beginning, he looks exactly like he did in T2 Judgment Day. He gets killed, and now Linda Hamilton is like sort of this old, you know, killer bitter, you know, old, you know, she's full on, even more crazy than she was, and now it's a female character is sort of the new Sarah Connor, and then there's also the new Grace, who's like the new Kyle Reese.
Yeah. And then Danny Ramos
is the new T-1000.
No, Danny Ramos is the one that they are sent back to protect.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's like the new John Connor.
Gotcha.
But apparently they thought she was going to be like the Resistance's, like the leader of the Resistance's mother, like Sarah was, but it actually was not. And so basically what happens is they go back in time. Apparently a bunch of Terminators have been sent through various points of the timeline, which makes sense, like, you know, and he kills young John Connor. Mm-hmm. And Skynet just doesn't happen because they already stopped it.
Yeah.
Stupid. And basically a pseudo, like the same thing. What's it called? What's the name of this one? Because I know, what's his face? Gabriel Luna is the Rev 9.
Yeah.
Legion is the name of the bad guys, and that's like the new Skynet is Legion. And this movie, unfortunately, like trailer wise, it got me excited. Mm-hmm. So this is what happened with me in this movie. The trailer comes out, and it's like the return of Sarah Connor. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's gonna be back for it, and they show the new Terminator, played by Gabriel Luna, who had just been Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And was really good on it, and they did a great job with him. And I was like, oh, okay. And like you see him splitting into two, and you're like, oh, all right, that's cool. Like they got some new things going on. And obviously, the trailer ends, I think, with Sarah Connor doing the "I'll be back" line. So like, I was like, all right, I didn't like Genisys, so maybe this will be like the movie that gets me going, gets it back to me. I got spoiled on the John Connor thing before I saw the movie. So I was like, what? You can't kill. You already ruined John Connor for me once. And for me, like, it's weird. I love the concept of John Connor. Mm-hmm. Not as much like the character, except in the second movie, he's a lot of fun. But there's a concept like that savior concept. Like, hey, this person is destined to, like, because I could wake up tomorrow and suddenly there's a freaking robot person in my room going, hey, you're going to save the entire human race, but you need to come with me. And I'll be like, let's go, bet. I'll pack a bag. Like that kind of concept always excites me, like that the random stranger comes in to tell you how important you are type character type. I like stories like that.
You're important, Paul. Don't worry.
Yeah, but that's the typical hero origin story. Your Luke Skywalkers, even like your Frodo Baggins, like those are how the story, the big adventures start.
Wow, look at you bringing some Lord of the Rings into the conversation.
I will always justify that Lord of the Rings is a literary masterpiece. I just can't stand the freaking movies. So much walking. Even the trees walked in that movie. Thank you, Randall, for that one. But anyway, so this movie comes out and it is a bomb.
Oh, it's a bomb.
So
I still thought it was a good movie. It was an okay movie. It's not doesn't turn the needle, doesn't do anything. It's just I watched it. I was like, okay, not bad. Do I need to watch it again? No.
These movies peaked with Terminator 3. That was
I agree.
That
with
was
that.
when, and it
and
obviously
even Terminator 3 wasn't that
it still did well. It got
well.
better, yeah, but yeah.
But this is a franchise that very much like what we've seen now with the Alien franchise, with all these Alien movies that have been coming out the last decade, like Covenant and Alien Covenant and all that stuff. They just can't let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys, let it go. Stop. For the love of God, please stop. Yeah. Like, the first two movies are tops on most people's lists of greatest movies of all time.
Absolutely.
And just you're killing it. Like even James Cameron was involved with this last one, and that didn't do anything.
Right.
That just it didn't, because it's like you hear, oh, James Cameron actually helped devise the storyline with this movie. Oh, that means it's going to be great. No, it's like Halloween. It's all these. You just stop. It's a money grab. Stop.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this movie lost them about, I want to say,
had to be $500 million. Probably.
It lost $122.6 million.
Okay,
that's huge.
Yeah, no,
that is a big loss. But
I would be, again, prove me wrong though, but because it's been 4 years, and that was the gap between Genisys and Dark Fate. I hope it's at least another decade before they even think about doing another Terminator thing. If anything, do a TV show. If anything, do a TV show. HBO Max, whatever. Let's do a John Connor TV show, kind of like what Salvation was supposed to be. Let's do that. I'd be down for that.
I'd be okay seeing let's say
miniseries.
Let's say John Connor joins the Resistance. He's like, according to Terminator 3, he's in his mid-20s when the war starts. I'd be okay with watching them try and organize, almost like a Walking Dead style with Terminator. I think it could be done, and I think it'd be done really well, but I just don't think they want big paychecks. They don't want to do small.
No, it's just, again, I just don't get it sometimes. It's like, it's just a money grab. It's what it is.
It's a shame. But I know Netflix announced plans to do a Terminator anime series, which I'll watch. I think that's a cool...
give it a shot.
In 2022, in December, when he was promoting Avatar Way of the Water, James Cameron revealed that another series reboot had been in discussion, but nothing had been decided. It would most likely feature an entirely new cast and reset the continuity of the entire series.
What continuity? Just redo it. If you're going to do it, just remake the first one.
I think if they're gonna go back to the well and do a reboot and do the first one, they need to do a completely brand new cast.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. Apparently,
no Arnold. No
Arnold. You could bring the character back. Just get somebody else.
We never talked about it, but in the first movie, he originally offered Kyle Reese to Schwarzenegger, and the studio wanted O.J. Simpson to play the Terminator.
I've heard that rumor, which is so.
They
wouldn't hire him because they didn't think he could play a murderer.
Well, Jesus,
it's true.
Oh God, have you watched the Arnold documentary on Netflix? No. Okay, because
I've heard good things.
I haven't watched it, but when you obviously on Netflix, when you highlight a movie, it starts playing like a scene. So of course, the scene they play for this documentary is him talking about, "Oh, we really want to cast you in this movie. O.J. Simpson's going to play the Terminator, and you're going to play Kyle Reese." And I'm like, and he's like, "I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be tied into this movie." And it's just funny to hear.
Super ironic.
And I'm just like, O.J. Simpson. I'm like, you know what? He was actually back in the day.
But apparently they are working on a reboot.
Stop. All right, Star City rating for number one.
For number one, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Really?
It's above average.
Okay.
I'm looking at the series as a whole.
Oh, I'm okay.
Actually, scratch that. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
All right, I was gonna give it a 4.
Okay, 4. Right. Second one.
4.75. It's just below perfect.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I do like T2 better than T1. I can watch T2 more than I can watch T1. That doesn't take away from how good T1 is.
Mm-hmm.
I just think T2 is just such a cultural impact of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
With what it gave us in terms of taglines, in terms of effects, in terms of action. It was just a total culture shift in terms of the way like the first one was versus this one.
I'm going to give Terminator 3 a 4.
Okay.
Really, it's the ending that pushes it over. Because otherwise, I'd give it a 3.5. Because the thing is, the Terminator franchise, the first movie is almost like a serial killer type movie. Like,
yeah,
it's basically they're being stalked by him. Oh, I guess he's.
Oh no!
Excuse me. I'm not editing it out. But anyway, so this movie though has a lot more action, and you know, obviously the effects are at a different level. So I'm gonna end the ending. I swear the ending like changed the entire movie. Because like the whole point, they're trying to just go there and stop Skynet, and they're like, "Yeah, we did it." Oh no! Terminator Salvation, 2.5.
Okay.
Completely average.
I would give Genisys probably a 2.
You didn't do Salvation.
I didn't see Salvation.
You didn't see 3 or Salvation?
No.
Oh my God! What are you doing with your life?
I'm not watching crappy movies.
All right, what are you giving Genisys?
2.5.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay. And then Dark Fate, I would give 3.
Oh, okay. All right, that's solid. So, I mean, not
Again,
like
I liked it, you know, for what that's worth. But
you guys heard it here first. Sure, Sean liked that movie.
I did like that movie.
Yeah, but otherwise, like, it's still a solid franchise.
It's a solid franchise by what we. It's a solid franchise due to 1 and 2. I mean, it's crashed and burned really since then, except for 3. 3 was respectable. Probably 3 doesn't get the credit it deserves. You know, just hearing what you're talking about it, I'm like, okay, I should go and watch this movie. It's probably really good.
I recommend it.
But since then, it's been a dumpster fire. They can't get anything off they can't succeed at any of the 3 movies they've done.
They can't get out
the
of their own
show was better than those 3 movies.
The show
probably.
was really good.
So it just seems like just maybe those first 2 movies were just, you know, that's just proof. It's like, hey, we can't do any better than these. Let's just leave it alone.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got our Fan Feedback Friday, and it was actually a little bit of a poll. So I had 2 movies for summertime.
I hated you for this.
I know you hated me for this one. And it was who'd win, Heavyweights or Surf Ninjas?
Well,
and
you had to hit the like button if you like this one.
Like
hit
button
the heart
for
button if you like this one.
The like button was for Surf Ninjas, and the heart was for Heavyweights. I think we did Heavyweights at one point.
We've done Heavyweights.
I don't know if we did Surf Ninjas.
I mean, we did 3 Ninjas. I don't think we did Surf Ninjas.
Should have just done that at the same time.
I put Surf Ninjas.
Yeah, you did put Surf Ninjas.
I'm probably one of the only ones.
No, it was a straight tie.
Really?
Yeah, it was 3 for Surf Ninjas and 3 for Heavyweights. Straight up tie. Wow.
I love Surf Ninjas. That movie is so cheesy, but I love it.
I love it. One can see the future in a Sega game. But anyway, so that is going to wrap us up for today. If you guys are looking to find more of our content, we mentioned our website, themisfitfaction.com. If you guys want to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, it's super easy. All you got to do is follow our Facebook page, Cinematic Adventures, and every Friday between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will post our Fan Feedback Friday.
MisfitFashionNetwork.com.
TheMisfitFaction.com.
Damn it.
The Misfit Faction.
I'm going to do this just to piss you off.
I already said it. The Misfit Faction. Damn it.
Yes.
And also, in other news, we are looking for a new co-host on Cinematic Adventure, so please send your
Ronnie
application.
can take it.
Yeah. But that's going to wrap us up. Shut up.
Brendan would do it.
Shut up. That's going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Sean for now.
And we'll be back.
It's a tumor.